Welcome to episode 2 of All Things Sobriety with Shawna Mox. Her sobriety journey is unique in that she was never really a blackout drinker. Her path to sobriety was gradual, self-inquiry driven, and deeply tied to her relationship with her body, music, and personal growth. Shawna has been fully sober from alcohol for approximately 3 years, with a broader 7-year dance with sobriety, including an intentional 1-year alcohol-free commitment starting around 2018. A central theme in today's podcast is that sobriety is not just about giving up alcohol. It's about deepening the relationship with one's body, soul, and authentic self. This is the one and only Shawna Mox. She is a divine creator. She is a community leader, way shower, I would say influencer, and just an all-around badass for our community. And yeah, the thing I love about you is you're just so innovative. The offerings that she brings to the table are, you haven't seen them. You just haven't seen them. So I just really appreciate that. And she's truly one of a kind. So I'll let her get into who she is and what she offers our community here in the 805.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christy. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I'm here on the Central Coast. I was actually raised here and left for a little while, came back. I've been back for quite a while. And I've also been an entrepreneur trying to figure it out for over 10 years. And how I would describe my journey is this very swirly, windy road that is sometimes squirrely and sometimes side questing. And but at this point, I'm like, oh, it's making sense. There's things that are making sense. And so some of the threads that I've been following for quite a while, I would say the main one is what makes me come alive, and surrendering to that and following that. When I was younger, that led me to a career working on private yachts because I basically wanted to chase warm water and make a lot of money and just like have an adventure and have a different experience. And I'm a Sag, so like I do love the travel thing. When that chapter kind of shifted, or when that chapter shifted, it was because I turned 27, and this is just like an adorable story of myself now that I hold now, because I just turned 40 and like I feel like I'm just getting started now. But at 27, I was like stressing. I was like, oh my God, I'm almost 30, and like I'm no longer 20 and just like free to just fuck around. We can cuss, right?
You've met me, right?
Just making sure.
What are you talking like?
I just want to make sure.
This isn't for children. This is
okay. Perfect. Yeah, I remember like clearly on my 27th birthday, I was working on a yacht. I was in the Caribbean, and I was a few years into that whole chapter. So I was like the honeymoon had kind of worn off, like the reality of living, working, hanging out with the same 4 people and being tied to this boat, and like, you know, needing to go where it went, was more present than like this, like, you know, adventure thing that I had been on. And I also knew that I was meant for something more than cleaning rich people's toilets on the ocean. And, you know, I've always been in hospitality. I have a big career in hospitality and I loved it. But yeah, I always was like seeking the bigger thing. And I was trying to figure it out. And simultaneous, what kept coming at me was like, I just wanted to sing. And this was kind of weird because I had loved singing as a child. I'd always loved singing. I'd always felt a connection to my voice and a connection to God through my voice, even though I wouldn't have described it that way when I was younger. I always felt that special thing in my chest. And I also didn't think I had a good voice. So like I had to like overcome that thing, and I really committed to the fact that I just loved it. It just made me feel good. It made me feel alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had done choir up until 8th grade, and then I dropped out of choir, and I like kind of went the track of sports and like water sports, and I moved to Hawaii for college. So I kind of was like not involved with music at all since 8th grade. And now I'm 27, and I'm like, the thing inside of me is like, I want to be on stage behind a microphone singing. And I was like, this is so
It's half
crazy.
the vision. You just know.
It just was there. It was true, you know? And I also, I was like, I also thought it was like a selfish thing to pursue. And here I am trying to find purpose and to like help others, or, you know, to serve others and stuff like that. And I I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to allow myself to be selfish then. I was like, it's fine. So, I ended up quitting yachting and like kind of following, you know, I set it as my lighthouse. And so, anyway, long story long, one of the pillars is that one of the things about me is that I've always followed the thing that has made me feel alive.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that has been ungrounded and a little bit reckless.
Totally.
And sometimes, and as I've matured, I've you know, that's fire.
Yeah.
That's enthusiasm. And so now that I've matured and I've been done doing the work, okay, to like ground it, and now like I have like it's life force energy that I have access to. We all have access to. That's one of the ways to access it, is like to follow the thing that brings it in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, in the context of sobriety, I fucking love to party, and I love to drink, and I love getting down on the dance floor. And I was like 18 years old in Hawaii, where they had 18 and over clubs, even though the drinking age was 21. Whatever, we would pregame, and then I would just go and dance my ass off at the club.
And BYOB everything. Like every restaurant, you could just bring in your own booze. Like that's a real thing in Hawaii. I live there too. So like you could just bring in a bottle of vodka and be like, "Can you make a Bloody Mary?"
Totally.
It's so weird.
So I don't remember that on Oahu, but
you
again,
don't?
I wasn't 21, so I was like not even legal to be drinking at all. But I was definitely drinking, but I was more so partying.
Yeah.
And then I've always kind of been like a go with the flow kind of lady. And
Mm-hmm.
so I drank because everybody else was drinking, of course, you know,
That's a big party culture over there.
for
Real
sure.
big.
And then on yachts, you know, I went from Hawaii to yachting. Everyone's an alcoholic in the yachting industry.
So I hear.
And we have access to top shelf booze for free. And in the Caribbean, booze is cheaper than water. For real. It's so fucking cheap. Like rum
Rum.
days. Okay. And it was just that chapter of like, it was like I call it my bougie pirate's life, you know, where we were just like on multi-million-dollar yachts. When we had guests, of course we were buttoned up and like doing the thing, and it was really hard work. It was such a work hard, play hard period in industry. And then you work your ass off while people are on board, and then they leave, and if it's a charter, they tip you in cash. And I remember one time drop charter, they're flying out of Atlantis in the Bahamas. Atlantis, if you don't know, it's like a big gambling
Hmm.
resort. It kind of feels like a like dead adult Disney World. It's
I
kind of
just see like the big water slide, right? Like that's how they advertise it, like all the water park and the things.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
all that. So there's like kind of some family stuff going on, but it's a casino. Like
Okay.
the main thing is a casino. So I just remember like we are saying goodbye to the guests. They each hand us an envelope. There's $1,300 cash in it. And we're like, okay, what do we need to do to button up the boat so that we could fucking go party?
That's
And just because when you work so hard and you're using so much energy, you also like you just are operating at that level, and so like you party hard because you also have to like off gas, you know?
yes,
Bro.
yes.
So I've been wild. I will say I was never like a blackout drunk. Like I was always pretty smart with my drinking, and like for sure I like definitely had some times where I puked, and I definitely had some times where I like sent some text messages that I probably shouldn't have, and like maybe slept with some people I shouldn't have, and like I was one of those, okay? But I wasn't like a problem, right? I didn't have ever have like this experience of myself where like I was super in shame or super apologizing or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um and I didn't really get hungover. What would really happen is I would like pass out, I would wake up at like 8, I'd start my work day, still probably drunk a little bit.
Maybe.
And then it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd kind of get like the like tireds.
Yeah,
I'd
sluggish. Yeah.
take a nap, and then I'd wake up and I'd be ready to rage again. Like I didn't have any physical like puking the next day or headaches, like none of that. I was fucking built for this, you know? Like
I've heard that mentality a lot from people actually. They're like, well, I don't get hangovers, so like, why would I stop
yeah,
doing this? Like,
totally.
totally.
So, so then when I moved back to the coast to follow music, I ended up manifesting a badass band. It's an 8-piece funk band called Captain Nasty. If y'all are local listening, we're around 10 years ago, and we got pretty big, and we kind of became this thing that was bigger than any of us, and we were partying, and it was so fun. I was like one of
At
the most fun chapters of my life, and at this point I'm like 30. I think I'm like 29, 30, 31 was kind of the like heyday of that.
okay,
Yeah.
Saturn return.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, big time. Big time. Yeah, I remember. I met the band. I actually met the band and performed my first gig while I was still 27. So within a
Wow.
year of that
Wow.
declaration, I was in that band. That's how quick it
Declaration
happened.
is such a strong word too, and I want to like come back to that because when you declare something and stand on it like with conviction, it's yours. That's how the quantum field works. Like that
100%.
that is like when things move really fast is when you actually declare them to be so. And I love that. So
100%.
at that time when your band was like really taking off, were you still seeing music and this path as something selfish, or did it kind of shift? Did something shift in that for you?
That's a really great question. So, there was a visceral like turning point around that, where I remember there's two things. I was working with a vocal coach. Shout out to JP Maddox. I was working with him, and we were. It was one of our very first sessions, and he said to me, he's like, "Listen, I need you to know something. When you're performing, the audience is not going to remember how you sounded. They're probably not even going to remember the words you say, but they are going to remember how you made them feel. And so if you can make them feel something, they will always remember you. And so that piece kind of locked in. And then
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I mean, also side note, I grew up performing a lot. My dad got obsessed with juggling and like got us obsessed with juggling, and then I did like I've had like hours and hours juggling on stage and doing shows. And then we like at one point we were teaching schools how to all juggle, like school-wide juggle-a-thon workshop shit. And I'm like 8, leading like 30, rooms of 30 and 60 kids and how to juggle. Like I've always been a leader, presenter. Like it's just like in my makeup. And I've also felt like, I believe in past lives and all that. And I'm like,
Been here.
I've definitely been on stage a lot. Like I remember, I don't know if you ever, for some reason, there was like a phase where people would ask, like, if you could pick any career over any timeline, what would you do? And I always was like, I'd be a jazz singer in the 20s. I'd be like up on that piano, just doing my. So that's always like
Yeah.
lived in me. And so when I returned to the stage in the iteration with the band, I was like, oh fuck, like I'm good at this.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the hell I'm doing here. My musicality and my voice like had to catch up with it, but
Yeah.
so anyway, I remember specifically it was at Happy Jack's, which is now the Siren.
That's
And or actually maybe it was called the Fuel Dock back then.
I love
And
the siren. I
yeah.
love Shout out to the siren. Shout out to
Oh,
JP Maddox. We're gonna put those because those are good
oh,
ones.
instrumental players in my story for sure. And actually Monty was one of the first. Monty booked us at Slow Brew when he was GM at Slow Brew, the old Slow Brew.
Art
He booked us
instrument.
to open up for Zongo All Stars, and that was like our first Slow Brew gig.
That's
And then
right.
we ended up headlining Slow Brew, and we were like the second to last show that Slow Brew ever had. We were the headliners. It was our show. Yeah, it was
That's
sick. Before
so
they like
sick.
moved and tore that building down, shit.
And changed everything, but
Yeah, so Monty is like a total like angel on my journey, for sure. So thank you, Monty, if you're
he
listening.
believed in you. He saw the
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was good. And so we were we were playing at the Fuel Dock, and it was a rowdy show because like Fuel Dock was just rowdy. And I remember I at this point in my life, I had a lot of like dude angst, and I was starting to write songs with the band. And so I was like, and it was a funk band. So it was just like a big, like the energy that led that in me was this like sassy, fired up, like, if you don't want me, you can't have me. Like,
yes.
kind of way. And I'm pretty sure I was singing one of those kind songs. And I remember looking out into the crowd and like locking eyes with this woman. And like I ended up really singing to her. Like I just kept like going back, and I could feel that energetic connection. I could feel something was happening. And then it was like one of those moments where it was like, and I was like, oh, she is having her own experience in hearing her story out my mouth
Through you.
through me. And really it's like God communicating to her through me.
Literally.
And in that moment I was like,
I
oh,
see
I'm a
what I'm
silly
doing.
goose. I'm a silly goose to
I
think that
see
this
what
is.
this service is. Yeah.
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 I was like, okay, I freaking get it now. And not only that, like I started to get feedback of like, oh man, it's just so inspiring that you're going for it. And I think that quote started popping up of like, we don't need more doctors and lawyers, we need more people who are alive, who are following the thing that makes them come alive. So again, this
thousand
aliveness
percent.
factor, and then bringing the like drinking thing back into the fold. You know, at first I was definitely like drinking. I would take like a shot or two of tequila before my set,
This is
and
something
then
I really actually want to talk about. So
yeah, yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, I was just like, again, a little bit of a going with the flow kind of thing. I was not paying for drinks because I was in the band, and like also people were buying, offering all the time. And and then I can't remember if uh, at one point I had heard somebody say like they're like, "Oh, I would drink while I'm singing, but it actually like always makes my voice go flat." And so there was like a phase in my journey with the band where I was like taking more vocal lessons. I was really like digging into the craft where I was like, okay, I'm into this. I love being on stage and I also want to be good. As good
Mhm.
as I can be,
Sure.
and so whatever like something happened where I was like, no, I'm actually treating this as my craft, and like this is a job, and not a job in like a job, but like this is like I'm actually hired to be the one that is bringing forth this experience. I'm the storyteller. I've got the band backing me. We're all making music together, but like all eyes on me, babe. And so I kind of got this I made this decision to just commit to it at a different level.
Like a sense of responsibility.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and reverence, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it was the same right around that same time I was like becoming really really intentional and mindful of like what my day before a show looked like.
You have to.
Making sure I ate, making sure I got a good night's sleep the night before, making sure I'm like starting to really hydrate. Like I should talk about this in the our group
You're
actually. I'm glad
moving
we're talking.
energy, so like
Yeah.
clearing the vessel is such a big part. And I'm learning even structurally going into like more of the music, like where my posture needs to be fixed, where my mouth needs to change, like all of these
Yeah.
things. Because if you really say yes to something, God's gonna straighten you up so that you can
Yeah.
channel that and be the best. And like, but
100%.
it's like, it's really interesting. And I know a few artists locally that have gotten sober, but it's almost like it's such an identity thing to be in the music industry and have shots before your show or after, because it's very social. It's a lot of the times like late night, a lot of the times it's at bar settings. It's you're surrounded by people that are drinking. So if you want to have this change in lifestyle, but you're so engulfed, like your whole identity in that like drinking culture, um, how do you then continue your craft? But do
Yeah.
it's almost like going back to bartending after you stop drinking, but you love
Totally.
the craft. So it's like
Totally.
I want to talk about that and like I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answers. And I know some people have done it and they've had to take breaks and step away to really get their lives in a place of balance so that they feel secure. And then they slowly start putting themselves back out. And maybe they do day events at wineries. That's not like, so much nightlife, but that's really challenging for artists to kind of change their entire lifestyle if they want to.
Mhm.
So how
Yeah,
do
and
you
it's
feel
it's
about
a
like that topic and
yeah,
like
it's really
untangling yourself from that identity, but still being able to be an artist?
yeah, like it's a really really great nuance or like component to it because so when people ask me about my sobriety, I
Hmm.
tell them that I've been like sober for 2 years. I've been sober from alcohol for uh like officially 3 years, but I've been in a dance with sobriety for like 7 years.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually now that I were talking even more so because so back to like the your inquiry about like how do you be an artist and make this huge identity and lifestyle change.
Hmm.
Um, well, when I got to the point where I was like, I'm no longer gonna drink during my set, I was like, that's the deal. It was very easy for me to commit to that. And
Hmm.
then I would have a drink or two after, or if we were raging, like more maybe. But I think that was like kind of my first little baby step in the dance, right? Where it's not just like I'm going with the flow and like if somebody offers me a drink, I'm saying yes. It's more like, oh no, there's like I'm intentionally choosing not to, and I'm intentionally choosing to.
Hmm.
And and so I feel like that's an important factor in my story because that ended up showing up and it was like it just like the ability to say no just kept strengthening, not from not from the skill of saying no but from the commitment of why I'm not drinking.
Flawless. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good.
So I stopped like the last gig I had with the band was December 2017,
Okay.
and I had just actually had like a full on Kundalini awakening psychosis experience the year before. I was depressed for 7 months, so like spirit's working me, you know. And like at that point I was still drinking, but I was starting to kind of notice that uh, like I was just having like I was like my awareness and my consciousness of like how does this make me feel and like why am I drinking. And I was with a my boyfriend at the time was like a drinker in the sense that he had like 7 wine club memberships and like
I know.
it was like wine with dinner every night. I'm social as fuck. I'm drinking every time I'm social. Like I was definitely drinking like 5 to 7 days a week for sure. And I never drank when I was sad. I never used it like that.
Hmm.
I never drank alone. I was just a party girl, and like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, margaritas, fuck yeah, like
Call some
let's
friends.
go. So
Sounds like you started to do a little more like self inquiry instead of like following the sheep, following the herd. Like you started asking
yeah,
yourself like more questions based on that true desire that you had and that path that you
yeah.
wanted to take
And
forward.
and really what was happening is I had started teaching these like dance party workout classes like in 2014. And this was like the first like big transformation that I really called in. And like this is like the first huge alchemization that I called in. And it was like I didn't even know what was happening. I was just like I want to, yeah, that like I miss getting down on the dance floor. And like we live on the Central Coast where there's like shit for clubs, sorry,
Literally.
but
Somebody do something.
I do want to, I want to open one of those like club 6 to 9, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., fucking T-Pain, and then go to bed.
Literally some Akon up in there.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, so I started doing that. That started healing my relationship to my body. Prior to starting to teach, I had a really vicious inner voice, and I was always a little overweight. Like I had like kind of a stomach and like, I just was very critical of myself and I had a bunch of skinny bitches friends. No offense, you're kind of one of those too. But
It's
like
fine.
I had a bunch of skinny friends and so that like effortlessly so. And so I had that experience of like kind of being the like thicker one, whatever. That followed me all through Hawaii. When I started getting into the band was the same time I started teaching these classes. So I was like having these like I was totally in the dojo of visibility, um, self acceptance. I started really appreciating how it felt to move in my body. I started really appreciating like, I'd go into goddess squat and I'd be like, damn, my legs are fucking strong. That's sick, And so I started having like just a more expanded relationship with my body outside of how it looked, right? And then I was also getting strong, but I didn't lose the weight till like more recently, like after my kid was born.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's like a whole nother part of this journey. But like my sobriety has been in step with the deepening relationship of myself to my body, my soul, my everything.
I think
And
so many women just need to hear those words. Like, I just think so many women need to hear those words.
yeah, yeah. So like, whenever somebody's like, I really want to stop drinking, I'm like, okay, well, if that's hard for you, there's actually like other places that you can start. One of
Yeah.
those places is, let's get in relationship to your body. What are you saying inside of your head about your vessel? This is how you experience life. If you're talking shit about her, it's affecting everything.
It literally makes me tear up just because, like, we're so generationally conditioned to hate and go against our body because it is the one thing that has all of our power. And when we're in that, and when you stop working against it, you realize the capacity in which you have to literally do anything.
Yeah.
And it's so many women have this like disillusioned relationship with their body just because of not even their own voices, but their grandmother's voices.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
and I'm
the
just
whole.
like, and once you learn to like be in that deep relationship and not fear every change and every shift, and like your body is like God consciousness, like
Mm-hmm.
it's doing an incredible, miraculous job of healing constantly. And our conscious mind, our critical mind, is always in battle with that. And so to get coherence between the two, the mind and the body, is um that's really alchemy, and that's really where you can like take anything that you want to do and birth into this world.
Yeah.
um you can do that. You
I
can do
mean, if the goal is sovereignty, which that is a big value of mine,
that. Hmm.
how can you be sovereign when you're believing the lies that like your body needs to be fixed with XYZ products? Like the reason why we have all this collective programming is because it makes us consumers.
Right.
And
And living in fear, and to cut off our sense of source from right here
mhm,
down.
totally.
And
Totally.
so you can't live here, and like your sovereignty is your soul and it lives in your body, and you have to discover it. It's like a hidden treasure, and you have to purge yourself of that consciousness, that generational programming of consuming, and you need to fix and do this and be that and look this way, and all of the fucking standards that are out there for women to essentially suppress our power. That, I'm not going into the patriarchy or anything, but they know how powerful we are if we have access to this.
For sure.
They do. And it's just been ingrained in us to hate and criticize and judge ourselves and our
Absolutely.
bodies, and all of our power lies there. And so
Absolutely. I
what you
mean,
said is like probably the highlight of this whole thing, like you and your journey and learning to be in relationship with that can actually get somebody sober.
To, that's exactly what happened to me, because as I deepened my relationship to self, and as you're like, to your point, like at this point in my life, spiritual healing, it's all the same shit kind of journey. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, the whole point is to actually bring the divine down through our vessel and live here on earth as God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about meditating to get out of our body,
Mm-hmm.
to separate ourselves from the suffering. It is about going down into that pain and alchemizing it
Mm-hmm.
and being embodied, right? And so the deeper my embodiment got, the higher my sensitivity got,
Oh,
the
yeah.
higher my noticing got, just like my discernment and intuition and all these things. And that can fuck you up a little bit, you know? And so what happened was, it was like, I think it was 2018. 2018? I had started so the this is what I was going to say. So the teaching of the thing, I was having this transformation with my body, and I was like, what's up with this transformational thing? Like, and then I like, life coaching kind of came on my radar, and I was like, what is life coaching? Like, that sounds fake. And like, I totally had a lot of judgment over it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing like a really extensive life coach, leadership and personal transformation program, like 2016 to 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, like, it was just like I was really getting into this era of my seeking.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up staying with that company as a mentor coach. And one
Okay.
of the things that came up for me in like the fall of 2018 is, I was starting to notice that, like, even if I just had one glass of wine, I wasn't hungover per se the next day, but like my inner doubt, like my inner critic, was like on a fucking loudspeaker. And here I am trying to run a business, trying to figure my ass out. And then this fucking yapper just being like, why even bother? Like, and then, like the squirreliness, I'm sure I have some sort of ADHD, whatever. I couldn't, like, the way that I started noticing how the alcohol was affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to that point where I was like, I literally remember I had one glass of wine with my friend. I woke up the next day and I was like in this tailspin. And I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I do not have time for this. For what? One fucking glass of wine? Get the fuck out of here.
Literally.
So
Yeah.
but to say, I'm also like, I'm a woman that, like, obviously I love freedom. I'm like,
Yeah.
tell me what to do. Like, if I go into, I've never been able to diet or any shit like that, because
Put
as
me in
soon
that
as you
box.
as soon as
Mm-hmm.
you go into restriction, I'm just like, ah.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, I want to take the next step here, but I am not committed to saying I'm never drinking again, or I'm sober now, or I'm never going to take a sip of champagne, or blah blah blah. But I was willing to do something that felt uncomfortable. And so I declared, again,
Declared.
committed to 1 year alcohol free.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see what life is like alcohol free. Now, just for context, I was still smoking weed. I was never like a huge stoner, but like, I kind of gave that to myself as this crutch where, like, okay, cool, if we're like hanging out, I could still like hit the weed pen.
Totally.
So I loved that for that. I like it was great. It was a great thing. I no longer consume cannabis, but that's like, that was later on down the line in my sober journey. And it was built on this foundation. So I do like 1 year without alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and I notice that it wasn't that hard for me. Like, I know I was like totally expecting people being like, "What do you mean you're not going to drink?" I don't know. I had all these like, and I know that happens. That's definitely has happened to me before,
It
but
happens more in our head than it
totally.
actually does in reality. Like,
Totally, but like as
actually.
I would as I would tell people, like more often than not, people are like, "Oh, that's rad," or "Oh, I did a year," or "Oh, I'm yeah not drinking," or "Oh, my brother's not drinking," and I was like, "Okay, cool, like that's cool." I also I remember conscientiously having to be like, okay, well, I am a super extroverted social person, and I'm not willing to give up my social life because I don't want to drink.
Mhm.
And so I made a point to be like, well, I need to go practice being sober in social situations where people are drinking.
Mhm.
And like when I talk to people about their sober journey, I always tell them like, hey, you got to start where you are, right? If that's a no-go, don't do it. For me, I had already been a performer where I wasn't drinking during performances. I'd been around a lot of drunk people in a lot of those situations with while already having that muscle of like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just made this decision that like if there was a good show that I wanted to go to or whatever, like I wasn't going to deny myself that.
Mhm.
And what I learned is like I actually do get tired. And like when I would drink, I would like that part of me that was like, "Oh, actually sweats and bedtime sound good." Like was completely overridden by like shots, shots, shots,
Another
shots, shots, shots.
shot. Literally though.
And around midnight, people get annoying. It's like there's like a thing that happens. I swear to God, it's like the Cinderella fucking
It's a
factor.
spell. It's like you can see
Totally. Like
it happening
midnight,
like over
spirit
the cloud. Like it's crazy.
the spirits drop in and they're like, "What bodies can we fucking snatch right now?" Like
I saw this so clearly the last time I went to Vegas. I went to Fremont Street and I saw the spirit of alcohol literally as an entity out like feeding off
oh yeah.
the crowd. I was like, what is happening to me right now? I feel like I'm on psychedelics. Like
Yep.
it was the craziest experience, but
Wow.
I yeah, so anyways, you can really see it as what it is once you have that.
Once you clear it out, of course.
Yeah, this it's like came from like right here. It was like boom, like straight out.
Totally. Totally.
Crazy. It's like whoa.
Totally. Yeah. And I also think that the spirit of alcohol knows that you can see it.
I remember being I remember one of like my last like I remember being around people like shrinking to be around people that I was just like so over. I remember just having this really weird awareness. I was at McCarthy's, which is like kind of a dive beer bar and
Mm-hmm.
so and I remember thinking like I would so much rather be at home in my pajama. Like my peace is not fucking here. Not with another drink, not with another mindless conversation. Like I remember like one of those moments. It wasn't like my last moment drinking by any means, but it was like a very clear awareness of like,
Yeah.
I don't actually want to be here and I'm not really sure what I'm even doing here
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
moment. Like it was weird.
And I think that's how, like, I mean, that's certainly how my journey has unfolded is like these little pieces dropping in.
Yeah.
And And yeah, the piece where I was like, I was not ready to just be like peace to like the bar life and that identity. Like I would walk into the siren and like 20 bitches would be like, and like then shaking their ass at me because we all, that's what they do with me, you know? And
You're
like,
very
I
true.
love being the star of the show. Are you kidding me? That's my
You're a
shit.
natural performer.
Well, I'll wrap up the
How have
last
you? Go ahead.
tail end of it. And I ended up drinking some wine like the night that my year was complete. I actually drank some wine and did a stand-up comedy set.
That's awesome.
It just happened to like land on that day. And oh, and what I realized is I completely recalibrated like I what I got to know what my actual like alcohol craving was when I cleared it out. And so what I noticed is like immediately I was fine, and then like once a month I would be like, "Ooh, a cold glass of Chardonnay would be great right now," or like, "Oh, a spicy margarita would like really hit the spot." Or like, "Ooh, Modelo Especial would be
Can't
my
even
jam right
say
now."
that word around me.
So it was like, okay, this is interesting. And so I was like, okay, well maybe when I return to drinking, because I was still thinking that, I was like, maybe I just return to like once a month. I just have one beer.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what happened. When I got out of that year, I was with a different dude.
Mhm.
And because I started the year right after I broke up with wine wine guy. And the dude I was with didn't drink very often. And when he did, he sucked at it. It's like, what are you, a fucking sorority girl? What is happening here? Did you never learn how to fucking hold your alcohol, bitch?
Girl, do you not have a liver? Like, what's going on?
I'm like, stick to your
Just
bong
going
loads. Come
straight to your
on.
brain.
Dude, it was weird. I was like, oh, this is embarrassing. Red flag. But you know, it wasn't in our lifestyle. So yeah, I would like once or twice a month. So that was like 2019. So we're heading into 2020. When the pandemic hit, me and this uh boyfriend, well actually I think we were engaged at that point. So we got engaged. We were living together. And he's like a health kind of guy. I'm like a health kind of girl. So when the quarantine happened, I was like, "Uh-uh. I'm not I'm not collapsing into quarantinis over here." I was like pumping iron and like taking my supplements, and you know, we didn't know what the fuck was happening. I even quit weed because I was like, okay, it's a lung disease, like a respiratory situation. Like maybe I
Yeah,
should, like, I was like, I'm here to survive, you know?
it was
And
going
so,
down. And you
and
were
so
going to go
then,
one of two ways during that
exactly.
time. Like,
So
that was.
I was, yeah, well, we were getting in shape. And then we decided to have a baby. And I got pregnant right away.
Mhm.
So then I was pregnant and obviously not drinking during that time.
Mhm.
Um, After my baby was born, I had postpartum psychosis. So I had this like psychosis, spiritual awakening, hot mess express where I wasn't drinking during that time. That period of time was followed by really deep depression, and my ex-husband left me. So there was like depression, grief, what the fuck? I'm a single mom, like I didn't sign up for this shit. And I didn't drink during that time because again, drinking was never my go-to for coping with shit like that.
Not emotional stuff like the
Yeah,
sadness or.
and I also wasn't really smoking weed during that time, like here and there a little bit, but like I was really just like kind of in the cocoon of depression.
Mhm.
And and then so that was like all of 2021. So again, this really long stretch of not having substances. And 2022 came around. I meet Ryan, who then I was with for 4 years. And when I met him, I had definitely taken like this turning point in my like depression, and I felt like I was like coming out of my cocoon. I felt hopeful again that like my life wasn't just gonna suck forever and ever. And and then like I met him and we were falling in love, and he worked at the Libertine in Morro Bay at the time,
Mm.
and so I would head over there and eat some food, and I started like grabbing beers with the food that I was getting, and then all of a sudden I'm like having a beer like every day cuz he has beer every day. And then I like woke at one point. This was just a couple of weeks, and I was like, hold on a second, I don't do this. And I just kind of like reset, and I was like easily able to just
Bring yourself
not do that every day.
back. Mm-hmm.
Not to
That's
say that I
good.
was like that I was completely sober, but yeah, I was like, okay, no, I'm not doing that. Like
Yeah.
we've recalibrated beyond that. Okay, that's not what's true. And then so 2022 was like, I have a kid. I'm not going out. I have a new man. We're kind of chilling with each other. There's not that much social stuff. My entire system had also been like upgraded.
Mm-hmm.
It was completely different. So 2022 was kind of this year of like if 2021 was the year where the system upgrade happened, like it
Mm-hmm.
uploaded, and then it was like 2022, I was like, where the fuck is file save? Like how does this work? You know? So there it was a very strange experience.
The Tesla was driving itself.
Yeah, I was like, oh, like even the thought of going out was like, no. And I was like, who am I? I had this whole, and really what was happening is like I just became a mom. Like I've been in this portal. My son's 5 now. I've been in this like maturation portal from maiden to mother. And that's not just a flip of the switch. Like this is like layers untangling and identity dying and questioning shit and like all of that. So then 2023 rolls around. March 2023, I have a good girlfriend who gets married in Palm Springs. And she gets married to her wife in on a Monday. We're all staying at the Jimmy Buffett Hotel. And it's like with all my people I used to party with hard. And they still party.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like not drinking. So I just thought I was fucking 21 again.
I went on.
And this was like the classic, like, I'm never drinking again. Like, I was taking shots of tequila like I was a fucking pirate again. I was like, the next morning, I remember, I had smoked a bunch of weed, and like somebody that I was staying with had flaming hot Funyuns. My ass gets the munchies. I'm like going to town on these Funyuns. I pass out. I wake up 2 hours later, and I'm like, uh-oh. Run to the bathroom, puke my guts out. It's like flaming hot puke,
I'm bleeding.
bright red. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, I like kind of pass out again. I wake up, and I literally the next day I had to jam home to teach a movement class. And it was like during that torrential storm period in
Mm-hmm.
2023, spring
I
of 2023.
remember.
I drove from Palm Springs to Morro Bay, torrential downpour, like I had to pull over like 5 times to puke, and like most of those times I also like took a nap for like 20 minutes.
Literally chaos.
Like at one point I was like, I got back on the road and I was like, oh my God, I have to puke again. I had like a Tupperware. I'm like puking, driving. It was gnarly. Like I was like, this is fucking rock bottom right now. I'm in it right now. I like got to class. I was like, you guys, I can't teach class. I'm like in such bad shape. I'm like, we're stretching tonight. My girl was like,
yoga surprise.
dude, I was literally like, there's no shaking happening.
Go to somebody else feel like leading? Are we doing an apprenticeship like style right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Good do your thing. I was my sweet friend Lindsay was there. She was like, "Oh, I just made some like organic bone broth and I live up the street. Would you like me to get some?" I'm like, "Yes, please."
Yes, immediately.
I'm like, "Thank God for you."
Literally.
So, that was literally like I was like, "No, dog," because not only did all of that happen, I was like, I didn't even need to drink. I am way fine being sober in situations like that. I am way fun. Like it didn't even elevate my like fun factor.
Experience.
And so I truly believe that the work that I've been doing, you know, anchoring my spirit into my body, clearing out the programming I feel about her, um, raising my frequency, like quite literally. That's what all this stuff is about.
It falls off.
It like alcohol was like, alcohol's frequency wasn't changing, mine was.
Hmm.
And then it was just like, no. And
Like, ew. And I think like so like if you don't drink or whatever, we have this like stereotype or representation that we're like better than, and it's like it's not, like you just don't understand until like your frequency just doesn't resonate with the
yeah,
frequency of a substance. It's
yeah,
never like I judge people that drink. When I
for
see alcohol,
sure.
I'm just
For
like,
sure.
it to me it feels gross. Like I just
For
like
sure.
I have
Yeah,
a
I mean,
strong
I even
disdain.
this last Christmas, um Ryan had like a what's it called? Like kind of like a cocktail in a can, but it was like a
Mhm.
Manhattan. It was like a really strong one. And
Yeah.
I was like, let me just take a little taste. Like I just want to I was just like curious to I was just
What
curious.
they got going now.
Yeah. I
What they're coming out
literally I felt like I had drank in fucking paint thinner. Like immediately my body was like, "What the fuck?" Like, and I was like, "Wow, dude, that's how much it is not the vibe for me anymore."
with. Hmm.
And like, no, I don't judge anybody like based on what they choose to do with themselves, but I it does tell me something, you know? It definitely tells me something. And like I would say that about myself. Back when I was partying and raging, that tells me that like I wasn't as embodied. I wasn't as deep in the work that I've been in of like clearing the programming and really, really, truly like getting in tune with spirit and life and all of that. So
Totally.
um, it's and you're right though. It's not about being better than
It has
anybody.
nothing to do with like, yeah, feeling better than, but I think like I used to think that when I was a drinker and somebody would be like, I don't drink, and I could feel the energy they would give me when I was drunk, and I'm like, they're hating on me for drinking, and it's not. You're just kind of like, you're discerning at a certain
For
point,
sure.
and you're just like, that vibe's just like not for me. Like I
For
don't
sure.
resonate at that
Yeah.
frequency
And
anymore.
I do think though that there's like when sobriety is fresh, when anything is fresh, like I'm just experiencing this with like a pattern that just dropped out.
Hmm.
When it's fresh, and I'll put it in a totally different context. So when I started really working on like my money mindset and like scarcity versus abundance and like the energetics of being open and receiving and all of that, I remember anytime I was around somebody who had super scarcity vibes, I was like, ugh, get me away. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm much more integrated, and so I can be around people who have that without being afraid that I'm going to slip back into that, or like it's not so fresh. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do think sometimes sober people judge drunk people.
Mm-hmm.
Like newly sober who used to be drunks judge drunk people because it's like it's like that experience.
They still
But
have a little bit
really,
of trigger, like it's not like a healed part of them
it's not
yet.
quite integrated yet. It's still in process, and that's
Yeah,
okay, you know? But I also think that this is an important thing because really what you're doing is you're judging your past self
exactly.
and projecting that judgment onto somebody else. And
Exactly.
so, like, I wrote a post, and literally somebody yesterday mentioned this post. This is a post I did like years ago. And the post was this. I said, hey, I sat down to write this post, and I was looking through old pictures of me because I wanted to write like a reflection post on my sober journey. And I was expecting to like look at these photos with my fresh eyes and see like the sadness that lied behind the girl that was drinking and la 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 la. And I was like, to be honest, I saw a bunch of pictures of this chick having a great ass time. And I was like, and because I was, dude, like I was having a good ass time. And I outgrew that.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like that was like a big, that whole thing was like a big healing for me because then it was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this isn't about making somebody wrong. This isn't about the judgment or or regret or anything like that. It's just like life is a journey, and at that point in the journey, I was partying my ass off, having a great time. This part in the journey doesn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't want to like have a good time that way. Trust me, I'm still having a great time.
And it's like multi-dimensional, and like
Yeah.
a lot of the times when I see a past version of myself in somebody else who's like on the cusp of getting sober or still like in that party phase where there is no negative consequences in their life yet, and they are having a good ass time, and they aren't in the depths of their own escaping their own pain, right? Like everything's still going really good for them, and you can see yourself. You can be like, man, there was a time where like for me it was just that, there was no
Totally.
other part of me being like, but also, like
Totally. And part of my walk with life and spirit, one of the beliefs that I carry is everything is perfect.
mhm.
Like I part of me needed to party my ass off for all those years.
Yeah,
Um
I'm still partying.
yeah, and for me sobriety has been in lockstep with my spiritual deepening
Evolution.
and my healing. So, I think the main things to highlight that I see from my story is like everybody's journey is different.
Mhm.
Just because you don't have a problem doesn't mean that it's still not correct to change something. And it's worth exploring that.
Mhm.
Something that I would not do have done this journey if I hadn't let myself not make it permanent. Like taking those, like the year was a big chunk for sure to be like, I'm not going to drink for a year. But I related to the whole thing as an experiment.
And it loosened the grips on everything.
Yeah.
Didn't place you in a certain box or
Yeah.
like put too much pressure on what
Yeah.
you were doing or why you were doing it.
Yeah. I remember being like, I'm not going to talk about this because like I don't want to change my mind and then somebody see me out drinking and be like, "Oh my
Absolutely.
God, she's the sober one. Like what is she doing drinking?" Like I was like, so I didn't talk about what was happening for a really long time because there was such a black and white identity wrapped around it, right? So like I'm always like, this is the same with food. I've had many different evolutions with my relationship to food, and it's always been about recalibration. And so usually I put like a more strict parameter, a short time frame, strict parameter, 1 year no alcohol. I thank you for what you said earlier about my offerings and stuff like that. I'm in this phase where I'm really just following what I feel called to share.
Mhm.
The threads are always like what makes you feel alive, creativity, music, movement, transformation, right? Getting to know yourself better. So currently I have, well, we're going to do our Shine On showcase on May 31st,
Yes,
and Christy's singing and
I
rapping.
am. Yes, I am.
Amazing. He found the batteries, guys.
Amazing. Good job,
Amazing,
bud.
amazing.
Good job.
So that's in San Luis Obispo at Humdinger Slow. I have I do work with people on their visibility. I have a lot of experience on social media, a lot of experience in front of people, both in person and on camera, and a lot of experience teaching to the deeper thing of like what's in the way of you being visible. Is this a worthiness thing? Is this a not wanting to be cast out of the tribe thing? Is what's here? And so that's called the Visibility Lab. We meet once a week. It's a $97 membership a month. So like anybody who's kind of solo entrepreneuring it or an artist, we're doing it. We
Yeah.
out here doing it, and it's really good. I have that. I just am announcing a little movement offer. Got the twerk tutorials coming out. Okay. Like
Yes, I
I'm
need
like
them.
just troubleshooting some shit.
I need
So
them.
that's happening. And then the other thing I'm going to really start talking about and promoting is I'm opening up a one-on-one movement medicine mentorship. So if
Hmm.
you are somebody that loves to move, loves to dance, can feel the deeper thing of what that is and wants to lead classes and wants to kind of
Oh, cool.
develop your style. This isn't about like you teach this Zumba format or you teach. I've tried to do it that way. This is about you bringing forth what wants to move through you. And so if anybody's like kind of in that arena, I'd love to. I'm open for those conversations. I'm taking on some mentees in that way.
I have I have an inquiry for you, but at another time, like after this weekend or whatever. We'll talk more
Awesome.
on Tuesday about it. But
Yeah.
I have something that wants to move through me that you can
Awesome.
help me get off the ground.
1 second.
Um,
And then
Last
please
thing you
come
just
follow my ass on social media.
follow her. And she just taught a songwriter
Oh yeah.
workshop, which for anybody that wants to just take their writing into more of like the songwriter structure. So
Cool. The
that was a
lighthouse
really
is
cool
working,
offering.
guys. Yeah, the songwriting workshop it's a songwriting workshop for non-musicians. So it's
Mhm.
specifically for people who don't know like the foundation of music and stuff. And it was really good. I actually think I'm gonna start. I mean, there's like some more in the workshop series, but that replay is available for purchase. And yeah, whatever. Slide in my DMs and we'll figure it out.
All the things. All the things. Well,
We're
thank
getting
you
it
so
together.
much. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Like, I really appreciate you and I love you and I'm glad we're in each other's sphere. Keep
Happy.
shining, keep shaking that ass and keep following that joy and that play that like sparks your fire.
That's the deal. And you too.
Thanks.
You too, everybody out there.
He's forging the path for us, guys.
Love you.
All right, be safe. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.